How's it going, guys? It's Cole from See Through Panel, showing off my February manga and comics haul. This month it's a little bit heavier on the comics than the manga, but the first thing I got this month and the first thing I already started to read is Afro Samurai Volume 2 by Takashi Okazaki, published by Titan Comics, Titan Manga imprint, and retailing for $20 US. I covered the last one in my last haul, but I have read Volume 1 so far, and with the bookmark you can tell I'm already fairly deep into Volume 2 and really enjoying the story. Classic kind of samurai with a little bit of like futurism in there, very action oriented, and the drawing is really something else because it's not really traditional manga style. It's very visceral and very loose feeling. A lot of ink on the page as well. And he does use the color red, which is really effectively done, as I'll show you here. And a kind of splattery, kind of realistic blood effect for the red. But really enjoying the series so far. I'm going to do a video on it as soon as I'm done with Volume 2. It should be probably late this week or early next week. Up next, Mind Management Bootleg is a hardcover. I think it's an original hardcover. I don't think this was... Well, this may have been serialized, actually. I believe it was, now that I'm saying that. Yeah, 1 through 4. Obviously by Dark Horse, $25. Written by Matt Kinn, art by Farel Dalrymple, Matt Lesniewski, David Rubin, and Joel Thompson. I have not actually read Mind Management. I bought the book on spec because it looks like it has some incredible artists in it, and it's very much the case. Farel Dalrymple, one of my favorite artists. I have to eventually do a video series on him and all of his works that I've collected, but beautiful, beautiful art style. Nothing compares to him in modern comics right now. I don't think. There are some indie artists, maybe Tyler Crook, which will come up again, maybe in that school kind of, but not exactly. You know I love David Rubin if you've seen any of my videos. This is Matt Lesniewski, I believe. That's the name? Yeah. And his art is just very kind of like 90s, 80s indie to me. I can't remember who I was thinking his style looked like, but it's very, very, I wanted to say clean, but it's actually dirty. It's actually a filthy style. It's so hyper-detailed, almost Jeff Darrow-like there. In terms of the story, I have no idea what's going on. I just know that the artists in this were too good for me to pass up. David Rubin looking a lot different on just matte paper, being the only difference between this and Cosmic Detective. The shininess of the paper on Cosmic Detective, like, did something to his art that now that I'm looking at it on matte, very flat paper, the color's entirely different. The color is, it has a different effect on this matte paper. But Jill Thompson, I am not aware of her work much, but watercolor style, very, very cool looking. I have no idea what the content of this book is. I'm going to have to buy Mind Management and read it before I even get to this book, so it's going to be a minute till I get to that. And then we've got The Impending Blindness of Billie Scott. Should be not a surprise if you saw my most recent video, and please do check it out because I really, really loved It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth by Zoe Thorogood. This is her original work right before that. I believe this is the first official work of hers. I didn't realize it would be such a giant format. Published by Avery Hill and retailing for $19 US. You're getting a fairly thick, here I'll compare it to Afro Samurai. Fairly good page count, but the size of the thing is what astonishes me for $19. Is not even close. It's very oversized. Zoe Thorogood, really, I can't say I know much about her or her work because I've only read the one book, but it feels very personal and realistic and affecting and has a lot of heart to it. Her art style in this, from what I've seen, seems to be more in one coherent style throughout the book rather than a lot of experimentation visually, like she did in It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth. But it still seems to have very personal themes and kind of not autobiographical in the way that It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth was, but I'm sure there's a little bit of that in it, and I think she's even said so in It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth, that it's kind of just her and her worries and her aspirations and things. Art definitely looks like something from It's Lonely, but it's very different. A lot more rooted, it feels like. Maybe going for a little bit more of a contained look rather than the hard on the sleeve kind of thing from the other book. But really, really excited to read that. That should be coming pretty soon. And then we have Eric Creek's The Exile, published by Living the Line, who I've not actually heard of, I don't think. Retails for $40 US, and if you saw my In the Pines review by Eric Creek, I pre-ordered this book first, and then was so interested at his art style, which I'll show you here, that I got In the Pines just to tide me over till I got this book, and I'm really excited. It's a Viking story. I think he tries to be fairly accurate as a representation of like the Viking Age, but the real draw for me is his art. So, it's got so much emotion in it. It conveys a lot of emotion through color. Like the violence here is really, really taken to the next level through the use of red. And his style is something I have a hard time explaining what it is. Very inky, very almost loose feeling, but also everything's where it should be. It's very detailed. It's not at all light on detail or anything. It's not very expressionistic. You can see every bit of the scene is rendered. But just so unique in terms of the art, I think that I couldn't stop myself from getting this book, which also seems to be a bit oversized, if I could compare. Yeah, a bit oversized, kind of a cheap, like, varnished cardboard kind of thing, but I don't really care about the packaging. I care about the interiors and the story and the art, and looks to be fantastic to me. Creek is someone I'm really interested to see the rest of his work, and if he's got more work that hasn't been brought over to the States or not, I'm not aware of if he has or not, but just entirely unique in my library. I think I don't even know who to compare him to. Quickly gonna breeze through Blade of the Immortal, Volume 8, the deluxe editions. It's still in the shrink wrap, as you can see. Published by Dark Horse, retailing for, I believe, $50. Yep, $50 US. This is one of my favorite manga of all time, but I've gone over it before in my top 5 manga video, and I think showing a lot of this could be a spoiler issue for people, since this is volume 8 of 10, and also this book does contain a lot of nudity and graphic content, so I'm probably safe for just not showing it off. But do know, Blade of the Immortal by Afro Samurai is, I think, my favorite manga of all time. I don't know if I rated it exactly like that in the video, but if I had to pick now on the spot, I think I've enjoyed it more than I've enjoyed any other manga. Up next, I told you Tyler Crook would be back in the conversation after bringing up Farel Dalrymple, and maybe I'll do a little side-by-side here, but The Lonesome Hunters, this is the first volume of a continuing story published by Dark Horse. The trade paperback will cost you $20 US, and you're really feeling that, really feeling a price difference when you look at, this is $19 here and this is $20. That's just how it is kind of in the book market. Dark Horse and Image and DC and Marvel are the big 4 kind of, debatably, and they'll charge you a bit more for things like this. This is more of an indie work, and I feel like just the more indie stuff has a more cheaper cost often. Like, there's not really a reason that this book should cost $2 more than this book, considering page count especially. I could show that off. If you can see the difference here. It's slim. It's I think 6 issues of a series. But Tyler Crook, first time as a writer here, I believe. I found him in BPRD and Harrow County with Cullen Bunn. Yeah, Cullen Bunn. I had to look at my shelves. I get Cullen Bunn and someone else mixed up. He writes for DC, I can't recall. But Tyler Crook just blew me away in Harrow County, and he's doing his own thing as a sole creator here, and I just was dying to see it. I wanted to get it physically and not read it online. He's doing script, art, and lettering. He's doing everything. The real draw for me initially was this sword design. It was really freaking cool, and I was curious to see, because he has a very emotional kind of style where he does a lot of facial expressions. He even goes out of his way to show like rosy cheeks and things like that. So I knew he would hit on the emotional beats well, but I hadn't seen a ton. Well, there is action scenes in Harrow County. This is kind of like fantasy action with this awesome sword. There's a better picture of it. Just looks so cool to me. And I was just waiting for this. I didn't know it would be a continuing story. I thought it would be it'd be a 6-issue miniseries and be done. that doesn't seem to be the case. From what I can glean, it is a story of a boy who is bestowed a magic sword early in his life. Here you can get a sample of his art style with the thick black outlines around them, but a lot of texture there with the washes and things too on the faces. Gifted this sword to use for a holy purpose of some kind, killing some demon here, and he does that. There's a kind of horror kind of bent to the story there. And then we skip and he's like 60 years old or so, maybe probably older. And now we're getting a guy who was meant for a fantasy adventure but kind of put it off to the side until he was an old man, and now he's got to go on that journey. So definitely a different spin on the typical fantasy story. Other than that, I have no idea if we're fighting demons or people or dragons or any. I have no idea what really is going on here. I just know that I will read anything Tyler Crook makes because I think his art is just outstanding. And the fact that it's one creator making his entire own book. Like this entire book I hold in my hands was made by one person is always going to be impressive to me no matter what. Finally, we've got Rai, the Deluxe Edition, written by Dan Abnett with art by Juan Jose Rip, Adam Polina, I believe Andrew Dahlhaus and Ulysses Ariola. Let's find out. Yeah, Dahlhaus is a colorist. Yeah. They're both colorists. Okay. I want to make sure I'm correct on that. I don't see the other guy even in here, but it's no big thing. This is a dust jacket, just a like faux cloth red label there. Published by Valiant and retailing for, it does not even say. I couldn't tell you what it retails for. I'm gonna guess. Oh no, it does. $50 US. The reason I got this is I really love Dan Abnett's work. I enjoyed this phase of Valiant a few years ago. I really enjoyed Exo Manowar from there. That's the only thing I've really read from Valiant, and I just love Juan Jose Rip's art. See if I can get you some stuff that I've seen. It was very, what's the word? I didn't think when I first saw it that it was refined enough for me to really love it, but now it's kind of got a Jeff Darrow intricacy mixed with, I think, a more expressive line where I think he conveys a lot of emotion, and he's good at these dialogue scenes, and you can have talking heads without it just being... Jeff Darrow obviously could do those things, but he likes to cut to the action. He needs there to be blood flying and everything. And there's a lot of action in this book too, but I think Rip, although it looks quite digital at times, is just so clean and interesting to look at, and hyper detailed. He's like a Jeff Darrow that can work on a monthly schedule for a while and in mainstream comics, which is just a treat for everyone enjoying Valiant comics. I don't know anything about Rai. He's like a cybernetic, like super soldier. That's all I know. I'm really excited to read the story and figure it out. I hope it's pretty self-explanatory and not something I need to know like deep lore about, but I guess we'll find out. But otherwise, couldn't really help myself. I do love Dan Abnett. His Marvel run is awesome, and his Warhammer 40k books I've heard are fantastic, and I need to read those. So that is it for my haul from February. Not super big, not small by any means, but a lot of quality stuff that I'm really, really excited to read. I think I'm going to go finish Afro Samurai now, so I can get that video out soon, but there's everything. Let me know if you like Mind MGMT, if you've read it, because I really need to read it just to read this book, which acts as kind of a sequel, I think. But I just don't know how high up on my list that'll be, so I'll figure that out after. But let me know if you've read any of these, if you enjoyed them, or anything I missed from the last pre-releases that came out in February. So thanks for watching, guys. Peace.